This is the Mets Postcast, your instant game reaction for the New York Mets. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Despite a very weird fifth inning, David Peterson and the New York Mets bullpen shine as they sweep the Toronto Blue Jays, a final score of 2-1. Welcome into the Locked On Mets postcast here on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel. I'm your postcast host, Chris Schubert, here with you after each and every Mets game throughout the year, and this was an interesting one. David Peterson made the start as the Mets went for the sweep. The bats were a little cold. They did enough early, and the Mets bullpen continues to deliver time and time again. I think the best place to start is with David Peterson, who continued what has been a theme thus far for the New York Mets and their starting rotation, at least overall, is you see pockets of time, whether it's 2 or 3 innings of the brilliance of what the Mets see in all of these pitchers, where they're able to dominate in their own ways. David Peterson, that first inning in particular, was pitch perfect David Peterson. Getting those ground balls, trusting the defense behind him, and it was a 1-2-3 first inning in a very limited pitch count. And even early in the game, you're starting to think of, man, with that quick inning in your back pocket, this is the day where a Mets starter goes into the 6th, goes into the 7th, and maybe gives that bullpen that has been so good in the early part of the season, just gives it a little bit of a breather. And then the wheels, they don't fall off for David Peterson, but he has those elevated innings where he has just some base traffic he has to deal with. So he's not having those crisp, clean 15 pitch innings. He's got to throw 20 plus pitches. He's got to work around some trouble. He has to throw some higher leverage pitches. And then you start to see the pitch count begin to mount. And I wrote in my notes here during the game that the third inning, the command was an issue for David Peterson, and you start thinking in your mind, okay, Jose Butto pitched yesterday. Okay, Huáscar Brasilban pitched yesterday. This is going to be the spot where if Peterson can't get through the 5th into the 6th, Max Kranick's probably going to be the first guy up out of the Mets bullpen because they want those multi-inning relievers to kind of bridge the gap. You start to work backwards in your head. Kranick's going to go here. You know you got Diaz available. You start to try to fill in the gaps to see how the Mets are going to get the final 12 outs or so that they're going to need in the ball game. And let's just talk about it here because the Mets win. They pick up the sweep. They've won 4 in a row, all positives. But we have to talk about what happened in the 5th inning of this game because for all of the buttons that Carlos Mendoza has pushed in the right way so far through 9 games this season, I thought he pushed the buttons in the wrong way, in what wasn't a catastrophic way, but it certainly could have been. And that was in the 5th inning. After throwing a pitch, David Peterson looked to grimace, not to use the pun, but looked to be dealing with something with his back, his side. Hefner came out with the trainers and they discussed it. And it's April 6th. It's early in the season. There's no sense in really pushing the envelope here. This isn't a game the team has to have in August or September with a playoff spot hanging in the balance. We haven't even played double-digit games yet. We haven't done 10 post-game shows together yet. Just felt like a weird spot to push it. But I could at least understand if Peterson tells you that he's okay, giving him one more batter. And he faces Santander, and I think every pitch, if not most of them, ended up in the left-handed batter's box. You could clearly see he was not okay. You could clearly see that whatever was bothering him was lingering and that it was the right decision to get him out of the game. And so I don't understand why. I know it's the left-on-left matchup, but I do not understand why Peterson got to face Jimenez because nearly every pitch in the last at-bat was in the left-handed batter's box. He faces a lefty. What does he do? He hits Jimenez to force in a run, and now you go to the bullpen. Now you bring in Max Kranick. And now Kranick, who's been one of your better relievers, this bullpen in general has been awesome. We'll talk about them here in just a second. But you now have to go to Max Kranick. You have to go to one of your relievers that are your multi-inning guys, and he is put into a spot where, hey, kid, bases are loaded, it's a one-run game, I need you to hold on to this, when you could have avoided that altogether if you got Peterson out either before the Santander at bat or after the Santander at bat. It's still 2-0 if you do that. Kranick is working with the bases loaded, but has a little bit more wiggle room because you don't force in the run with Jimenez. So I thought Carlos Mendoza has pushed the right buttons more often than not, right? This team was 2 games away from the World Series last year in large part because Carlos Mendoza pushed the right buttons. And I think we saw in this series where he can push the right buttons in the right way, letting Jesse Winker take that at bat in the game last night when they walk it off in the 8th inning, the game tying 2-out, 2 RBI triple. That is him pushing the buttons and in doing so in the right way. I think this was a bad decision by Carlos Mendoza, and it's the second real pitching questionable decision that I've written down here in the early stages, leaving Griffin Canning in maybe one batter too early or one batter too late, in the Houston series, the first series of the year, when you had Jose Budo waiting in the wings there in the third game of that series. That felt like a miscalculation, and tonight, this afternoon, felt like a miscalculation as well. But Max Kranick continues to do what Max Kranick and this bullpen in general has done, and he shut the door. We are going to talk about how awesome the New York Mets bullpen has been. We are also going to discuss the Mets offense. Not a ton of hits in today's game, but they did just enough to make it 4 in a row and to pick up their first sweep of 2025. But we'll talk about the Mets bullpen, how they shut it down after David Peterson left this game. We'll do so right here on the other side. When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters. That's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all rigorously tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. Just Ingredients has also partnered with 2-time MVP Bryce Harper, who trusts their NSF-certified sports line to fuel his training and recovery. Whether you're recovering after a workout or need an energy boost, their grass-fed whey protein and pre-workout deliver real results. Visit justingredients.us and use code LOCKEDONMLB for 20% off. And for more wellness tips, follow @JustIngredients on Instagram. There is nothing better than catching an MLB game live, the crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, and the smell of ballpark food. And if you're looking to go last minute, Gametime makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last minute deals, all-in pricing, and a lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, ticket prices drop as Gametime gets closer, meaning you can score an incredible deal. The Gametime Picks feature makes finding the best deals effortless. It filters out the fluff and highlights the top discounts in the stadium. You've also got the seat view before you buy. I love that you can preview the exact seat before purchasing. There are no bad surprises when you show up to the stadium. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Welcome back into the Locked On Mets postcast here on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel. Chris Schubert here with you after every single Mets game throughout the season. This is your spot, rapid reaction. We can talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly from this game. And you want to talk about the good, the thing that has been as advertised through 9 games, and you saw it on full display here today, the New York Mets bullpen. I know Edwin Diaz makes it a little nerve-wracking, gets the anxiety building in the 9th inning. He did so for 2 straight games. But overall, this Mets bullpen has been lights out. Every single guy down there so far has pitched in a big spot. Every single guy has gotten the Mets out of a big spot so far. They've just been really, really good. Max Kranick delivering 4 outs, again, showing that ability to be a multi-inning reliever, gets the Mets out of the jam in the 5th, helps in the 6th to bridge the gap to Reed Garrett, who has thrived in that first high-leverage reliever out of the pen role. It was A.J. Minter's night to be the setup man and got the first 2 outs, got himself into a little bit of trouble, but worked out of it. And then Edwin Diaz slams the door for his 2nd save of the season. But even the guys that didn't pitch, right? Ryan Stanek Huascar Brazaman, Jose Budo. The story of the Mets season so far, the reason why they are 6-3, the reason why we are talking here today on the show of a team that just swept the Toronto Blue Jays, a team that has won 4 in a row, a team that is 6-3 to start the season. It has been the strength of the starting pitching of the New York Mets and the Mets bullpen being lights out. I think we've gotten to a place through these first 9 games where you basically trust everybody so far. No one has given you a huge reason to not trust them. I'd like Edwin Diaz to have a cleaner 9th inning. I would like to avoid those nerve-wracking situations, but got out of it, no problem, picked up his second save. And so you just tip of the cap. 4 1/3 innings from the bullpen tonight, no runs allowed. Kranick, Garrett, Minter, Diaz all combined to shut the door. The bullpen only allowed 1 hit, didn't allow a run, didn't walk anybody, combined for 5 strikeouts in their 4 1/3 innings work. So they are the thing that shined in this game. They are the thing that has shined so far the early part of this season. We have some awards to give out. We have to give out the player of the game, and there could be a couple different guys that earned the role of player of the game. So this might be a surprise to some of you.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
It's a double dose because not only is this guy the player of the game, but this is also the turning point. I won't play the graphic, but it's Max Kranick. I think his ability to get out of trouble in the 5th inning is the difference maker in this ball game, because instead of this potentially spiraling for the New York Mets, a game that they have a 2-0 lead, and Peterson up until that point was cruising, you started to have dreams of him getting into the 6th inning and have a deep start. Max Kranick bails the Mets out of a hugely critical moment of the game, and that was all she wrote, because then the Mets bullpen locked it down. So the player of the game for the first time this year is Max Kranick, also the turning point of the game as well, him getting out of trouble in the 5th inning. We would have liked to have gotten some more insurance runs in this ball game, and that is why the Mets offense is what you'll be talking about.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Overall, a uninspiring performance from the Mets offense outside of Pete Alonso. Lindor 1 for 4, Soto 1 for 3, drew a walk. That certainly, this game for Soto looked like he was starting to be more of himself, working the at-bat for the walk. Drove the ball really well to get a hit in his last at bat. So you could start to see the gears kind of turning there. Pete delivered a big day with 2 hits, but Vientos only 1 for 3. You're getting nothing right now out of second base when Brett Baty is in the lineup. You're getting nothing right now out of center field with Jose Siri. I mean, there's a lot to like about Siri, the defense that he provides, the speed that he provides on the base path, the power that we're supposed to see. But you look at the bottom part of this lineup, Vientos is hitting 118. Beatty's hitting 095, Siri's hitting 059, Vientos, Baty, and Siri. So 6, 7, 8 in the Mets lineup today, combined 1 for 9. You just need to get more out of those spots. And so the Mets right now just need their big boppers to turn a corner. They need Soto to be Soto-like. Think we're getting there. Lindor, I thought, had some good at-bats today. You start to see that he might be close to a breakout. Pete just needs to keep doing what Pete is doing, working some good at-bats, driving the ball really well. Pete's fine. Brandon Nimmo, you look at him, he's hitting 235, picked up another hit today. He had one of the RBIs in this game on a sac fly, so even when he's making outs, he is really, really productive. So you need the bottom of the order to do some things, and you also need the top guys, Lindor and Soto. I don't think we've even scratched the surface of what those guys are able to do, the chaos that they're able to create at the top part of the lineup. So it's weird, because you look at the Mets' offensive output here over this series and even in today's game, and you're shocked that the team's 6-3. You're shocked that they picked up a sweep. You're shocked that they've won 4 in a row, but they're just finding ways, and that is an encouraging thing, that even when things aren't perfect, that they are grinding out at bats. The bullpen is doing their job. You're getting enough out of the starting pitching, and so it is just these are what I would describe as team wins, where you're just finding ways to win baseball games. It was the story last night, is the story again today. You're not giving it back. You take every win that you can get when you consider how competitive we think the National League is going to be this year. And the Mets just keep finding ways to win on the backs right now of some really solid starting pitching. You'd like to see a little bit more length there, but you're getting the solid starting pitching from everybody. And the New York Mets bullpen continues to be lights out. They continue to be a wagon. They just get key out after key out, and you're very rarely stressed. And it seems to be a different guy every single night that steps up with the big inning or the big batter that they get out in a key spot. And today was Max Kranick doing his part. So the Mets bullpen, the thing that shines in today's game. Got to hear from Carlos Mendoza about the decision in the 5th inning. Got to make sure that Peterson is okay. Want to know more? Obviously, one of the things about doing these immediately after. I don't have Carlos Mendoza up here to hear if anything is wrong with David Peterson and to understand that decision in real time. That's why you got to check out the Locked On Mets podcast. Ryan's got you covered Monday through Friday, and he has those deeper dive episodes where he can talk about that decision. He has the benefit of seeing Carlos Mendoza's comments and being able to react to them with a little bit of hindsight. So we'll see what Carlos has to say about that. We'll see if everything's okay with David Peterson. Fingers crossed, because the Mets are already down 2 starters. You'd hate to have them down a third. But they battled, and they found a way to win. They found a way to complete the sweep of the Toronto Blue Jays. They are now 6-3, winners of 4 in a row, winners of back-to-back series, and it is back in action tomorrow. The Miami Marlins are in town. The Mets will go for 5 in a row, and it'll be Kodai Senga making his first start in front of the Citi Field crowd. We will be right back here on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel to break it all down the moment that game is done tomorrow night. So the Mets win 2-1, complete the sweep, pick up their first sweep of 2025, and they will look to keep the ball rolling tomorrow against the Miami Marlins. Everybody have a great rest of your weekend. We'll talk to you tomorrow.